Better.
We're live.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
We're live.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Oh, live.
Yeah, we're live. Good. So welcome to our regular meeting for Airport Committee today, Wednesday, October. Is it 2nd or 3rd? Second. Okay, I'm on track. At the table, we have councillors Leonard, Trimble, Fournier, Peltier, Councillor Sprague, myself, Councillor Yaqub Aga, and at the table is Airport Interim Co-Director Amy Thibodeau. Amy, what do we have tonight?
So we can start with staff, and then I have a couple of operational updates, and I was able to print them large this time, so we don't have to think
I
about
got to the back them
magnifying
before we got here. So
glasses, so you can just put that up that way.
Question.
All right, so our favorite color is yellow.
yes,
So as you can see, August was a very good month for commercial traffic. So tourism is alive and well in our state, and it continued into the end months of the summer. I think the weather kind of improved a little bit. We saw an improvement from the rainy June, beginning of July that we saw, but those numbers remain strong and across the board. So you can see by looking at the load factors, and then also just passenger numbers in general, when you look at capacity versus number of tickets sold, shares are still strong. So pleased with the numbers that we saw there. You can see that Delta is still down just a little bit, but not nearly what we had seen before. So still very strong market share. And Allegiant is just one of those. So they continue to bring in the larger aircraft. And so there's more seats available. So that number, 0.24%, I think, was pretty much right on target as well. So good things there. Total operational stats, which takes into account all of our cargo, military, FBO operations, down just slightly overall, but right on target again for the month year over year. And then fuel sales were really still kind of right where we need to be. If you look at parking lot vehicle inventory, anecdotally, I did notice when you come in and you leave the airport, the shuttle lot was open much more than we normally would see that. So that's a good thing. We're seeing those increased numbers in domestic traffic. And then just a couple of notes. We've got a few upcoming events. The Coal Museum is hosting a Touch a Truck event. So we will have probably a plow truck there, but we'll have a vehicle at that. And then Parks and Rec is doing their Touch a Truck and Treat. We're hoping for a little bit better weather than we had last year so that we can be outside. And then the 7th Up program with the Bangor Chamber and local Bangor schools. And then just a couple of conferences that we have coming up that I've mentioned before. So busy season for us. And we're still seeing those numbers. So anecdotally for September, I think we'll be strong again, just looking at the throughput numbers that we've seen so far and the parking lot traffic that we've seen, and Canadian numbers look good. So just having done a couple of walkthroughs, we're seeing those New Brunswick license plates that we like to see out there. So
awesome. Councillor Trimble, you have a question?
Yeah, just curious. I mean, that looks like it's probably the second busiest month we've had at the airport. Do we know what, I'm not the head, what sales are? Do we let the rental agencies know so they can anticipate and maybe, because these are all people coming in that want rental cars. So do they have the inventory out there for people?
Right now, they've done a very good job from what we can tell, keeping up with the demand. So yeah, they're sold out quite often, but people are actually really good about planning ahead. The rental car agencies are very good about staying open until that last flight comes in, even if there are delays. If people already have vehicles rented, they don't go home until that last flight does come in. And we have forecasts and projected, so they know what the flights are. We don't necessarily know how many seats have been
Right,
sold,
yeah.
but they do have the ability to look at those schedules ahead of time.
So I feel it has been consistent, the yellow.
Yeah,
It's-
so it's good. You know, what we're seeing, we kind of wanted to land somewhere in that sweet spot, like I had said, between 2019 and
Mhm.
2022.
Mhm.
So if you look, we are up a little bit because the months that we've done well, we've done very well. Like this August was, and I don't want to say unprecedented because I didn't go back and look at the last 20 years of data that I have
Mhm.
available. But I would say that was probably an overall record month for us.
Wonderful. So we might expect some kind of balancing in those numbers.
I think so. I think that's what we're gonna see. And a lot of it depends on the economy. So it depends on what we see in terms of inflation, what people are doing for planning, what kind of a winter we have, depending on what people do for like February and April vacations. It really depends on how harsh the winter is for a lot of people, whether they have that extra cash that they're willing to spend.
We'll see how it goes. Okay. Any other questions?
And then the only other thing we had on the agenda was just some operational updates. So the cargo area that we've been redoing, that cargo ramp, they've done the majority of the work. It looks like we'll be able to finish that up over next weekend and then transition into those ASR fixes on the runway. So those will be like an overnight short-term closure, should not impact traffic. So we've worked with the construction company. So yes, it will close the runway, but they're temporary closures. And so we've worked with TSA, FAA, everybody's aware that those are coming. I will say that we had made preparations in case there was a federal shutdown. So those conversations are ongoing because, you know, we have a 45-day stopgap right now in place. But Evan and myself had reached out to TSA, the FAA, and air traffic control, and we were prepared. They would be considered essential workers, so they would still come. But we know that the longer that those shutdowns extend, the likelihood that we could see some impact increases. So we just wanted to take some proactive steps and be ready for that. And then the other thing that we have is just an operational change. We're preparing to make the terminal a little bit more secure during those overnight hours. So we'll have a few changes there, but just security safety measures over the next few months.
Awesome. Any questions? Yeah.
Oh, gate 4. Thank you. So Jet Bridge 4, gate 4 is the one that we are redoing right now. And we ran into a little bit of a snafu with the electrical panels. Those are not going to be on site until February, but we've worked with the contractors. So they're going to do all of the installation. So we're going to have a couple of weeks coming up, starting on, I believe it's the 14th, that the new bridge will be delivered and installed. Gate 4 will not be available for the airlines to use for a couple of weeks. Depends kind of on how the installation goes, but we're looking at probably about 10 days to 2 weeks. But we've made plans for that in our gate schedule. And then even though they won't be able to use all the functions of the new bridge yet, that new bridge will be installed and we'll have like a 1-day switchover in February. So we'll only shut down for a day. My preference was that we didn't have workers out there in the cold in February when conditions aren't ideal, and it'll get us a better install in the end. And so it'll just be the electrical switchover that will happen in February.
Great. Councilor Sprague.
This is not necessarily a question for Amy, but thank you for all of this. And it could be a government ops question for the next meeting, but could either Councilor Fournier or City Manager Lori give us an operational update on the recruitment of the new airport director? What's the status?
Sure. We've been working to identify candidates. We have about one candidate on site, and we hope to be kind of working through that process to see if that is the perfect candidate. And once a candidate is selected, we're actively recruiting. We'll be back to the council.
Give a target date?
As soon as we can find the most appropriate candidate.
That's it.
The only other thing to do is right now we are re-kicking off our stakeholder meetings. Because remember earlier this year, we had to delay our runway project due to the bids coming in higher. Every time that you're looking to do a large project like this, you kick off a stakeholder meeting. So they're doing the internal stakeholders first.
Mhm.
And then I think we're about 2 weeks out from the external staff.
Yeah, so we're
stakeholders.
looking for a couple of dates, but they've all been contacted at this point to organize and schedule those meetings.
Thank you so much, Amy. I think that's it for Airport Committee. We are adjourned and please stay tuned for Finance Committee next.